Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth, the Education Coordinator for Marlene's Market and Deli. Tonight's special guest we have with us Dr. Ryan Bland. He's a local chiropractor and functional medicine practitioner. Thank you so much, Ryan, for being with us today.
Thank you guys for having me once again. Marlene's Market is a staple of my existence here in Tacoma. It is an absolute honor to be back on, and today we're going to be having a very special conversation, hopefully, about allergies, food allergies. So for those of you who haven't gotten a chance to know me, my name is Dr. Ryan Bland. I'm a second generation applied kinesiologist / chiropractor, functional medicine practitioner. I see a wide variety of patients stemming from anything you can imagine in terms of the chronically ill to athletes, young children, moms to be. I see a large portion of patients who have usually seen 2 to maybe 5 or more other practitioners before they even get into my office. So that's a little bit about me, but let's really stick to the topic today, and we'll do the questions at the end. So if I didn't touch on something and you want to talk about it, we'll spend the time going over it at the end. We'll open up the time for that. So something that I was thinking about while on my way here, and the conversation that I had recently at a symposium, is the difference between animals and humans. Well, we need to decide that we're talking about food allergies concerning humans. Now, this is a really dense topic, so I'm going to try and keep it simple, but give good explanation. So the difference between most animals and humans is animals, their diets are very, very specific. You can talk to zoologists and veterinarians all over the world, and a cow eats what a cow eats. Polar bears eat what polar bears eat, and that's it. But humans, we have a lot of issues somehow with our diets, and there's a lot of research and there's a lot of speculation that we are very well aware that what we eat is kind of almost an important paramount to our health. It's a big, big, big thing, and you can't deny it at this point. So let's go talk about food allergy versus intolerance. So what is the difference? So an allergy is an anaphylactic reaction, like somebody eats some peanuts and you blow up and your throat closes up and it's time to go to the hospital. So that would be an allergy, or allergy to pollen. Is more of like an intolerance. We're thinking about a lot of what we experience in life are food intolerances, from food additives, just maybe genetically. There's a wide variety of people genetically just allergic to different things. Familial genetics also will come into play. You'll notice that some people in your family, can't eat something and you can't eat it too. And that's how related to genetics. It's very interesting. So the science of the intolerance is really interesting because you hear the word histamine a lot, and that's thrown around with a lot of allergen, an allergy specialist. But when it comes down to it, let's just keep it really simple. Food intolerance is when a food is going to cause the body to not have the highest level of vitality. Everyone throws around the quote, "Let food be thy medicine." And if it's not medicine, it's poison. It's going to detract. And that could create histamine and mast cells. But the main thing to take home is that we're looking at inflammation. And the more inflammation we have in our body, the harder it's going to have time to recover from our toxic load, our emotional load, and our physical load. And we are always working and trying to mitigate, these buckets, and making sure that they're, they're empty, and we're taking care of all these things, but it's hard to be perfect. And sometimes people just are born with some intolerances and, have had some unfortunate exposures. And when it comes down to a lot of things, it's from person to person basis. It's about reactivity. I might be able to eat one piece of bread, but after 5 pieces of bread, I could get a serious headache or brain fog. Some people could eat a whole loaf of bread, and that's what they're powered, and that's great. But everybody is different, and now's a good time to take a moment to identify how different we all are. We're all biochemical individuals. Each day, our chemistry changes based on our thoughts and choices. And to go further a little bit into the food allergy, we can break down foods into food chemicals. And these are just some things that I see in practice that have an impact when we are trying to identify allergens in the diet. So one is lectins. Lectins are found in plant foods, nuts, beans, seeds, etc. And lectins are almost, they have like an anti-enzyme, and it works against your digestive system. And those who are sensitive, they're going to have symptoms. And symptoms could be anything that you could imagine, from rashes to headaches to ADD, musculoskeletal pain, you name it. So that's lectin. Next, we'll talk about methylxanthines, included in theobromines, caffeine, stimulants. I see a lot of people abusing stimulants, and it's not an outward abuse of it. It's just so normalized. Having a cup of coffee, having a couple cups of tea, having this, having that. These methylxanthines, takes a long time for your liver, which is the primary player in detoxification reactions. So these methylxanthines, it could take up to 3 months for your body to really digest all of these chemicals, which is interesting. And it slows the body down. Some people, caffeine is a great performance enhancer. Other people, it's bogging their liver down, taking away. Next is oxalates. Oxalates are primarily found in, leafy greens. We could attribute kidney stones to oxalates, and these could be danger for some people. These kidney stones and these formations of them is very hard on the body, and it's one of the most painful experiences. Also, solanine are also known as nightshades. Tomatoes, potatoes, ashwagandha, goji berries. Those are some really good foods that we would call superfoods, or adaptogens in there. But for the wrong person, that could cause some serious musculoskeletal issues. Also, solanines are tied into the thyroid. That's what helps break down the nightshade. And you can only digest a certain amount. And in our standard diet, you're usually taking in way too much than your body can detox. A lot of athletes have adapted going solanine free to help with their musculoskeletal system and to heal. And I've personally seen some really cool results in athletes, and as well as myself, as I am an active patient in all of this, always trying to be better every day. Next is a big one that everybody talks about is gluten. I don't know really what else you really need to know about it. The most recent research, they decided that it attacks the nervous system first, which there's a big brain-gut connection we'll get into. Next is milk. Many Eastern Europeans, about 85%, and African Americans become lactose intolerant after 3. So milk is, you see it with a lot of people. And also milk cheese. Cheese you see with more of a fungal issue, with sugar. A lot of people, reacting to sugar, corn syrup and stuff like that. So, like I said, we were talking about performance, and we're supposed to feel good. You're supposed to be happy. You're supposed to love your life. And if you're eating stuff and it's not making sense, and you're out there and you have no idea what is going on with your digestion, your performance is down. It's not fun. So the whole point of me being here and educating everybody out there is to say, hey, I'm out here. I'm here to have a conversation and connect on this level where we can change the course of things, with just a few changes and removals of some of these foods and food chemicals. And the success of my clinic is just, I look at it and I think it's just a beautiful thing to see all these people trying to obtain this level of health and wellness. And it's all about performance and feeling good. And we're able to quickly restore some people's outlooks and their pain scale and their symptomatology, whatever it may be. Everything in your care is just a piece of it. You can't outperform a bad diet, and you can't underperform eating a really great diet. You have to do everything. You have to exercise. You have to eat right. You have to work out. You have to sometimes seek help of a professional. And that's where I come into play. So let's talk about, well, what do I do to identify these things other than other people, and how can we fix it? Well, as an applied kinesiologist, I use manual muscle testing to assess people's nutritional needs. Now, it's extremely accurate, and I'd like to think it's more accurate than some labs out there. And I've had plenty of people challenge me to that. And, it's pretty amazing how close you can hone in using the language of our bodies to tell us what we want. So the muscle testing is able to uncover these food sensitivities as we test the body with the foods, and we see which ones react and give us the reactivity. On top of that, we do laboratory testing. One of my favorite laboratory tests for foods is an IgG antibody. I primarily, when I can, like to use an MRT test. And that is using antibody markers to determine on a cellular level the inflammation that is caused by a certain food. And they test for over 180 foods, and they give you just a beautiful readout. Now, some patients just choose to get muscle tested and they do amazing. Some people choose to get muscle tested and they get labs. And we do this for our patients, both local and as well on telehealth. Sometimes on telehealth, I'm more likely to send out for labs, but we can easily assert the foods that are challenging the patient, and we remove them. We create an elimination diet where we create hopefully a conducive environment for the patient to heal. And this testing is amazing. And using both of them, you really get to, see how amazing they are each. However, blood labs, it's a snapshot of your physiology. Blood labs are great, but it is a snapshot of your physiology, and there are limitations to that. And a lot of people think, it's an end all be all. When you're dealing with a serious case and you want to get better the fastest, you just use as many tools as you can. And I work with my patients the best, I can, to give them my time and attention to helping make permanent changes in their life. And it's really amazing. Next, I'd like to talk about culture and diet fads. I don't want to pick on anybody because that's not what we're doing here. But a lot of people, they have symptoms and they go, all right, what's a good diet that's healthy. And when somebody has a great experience with the diet, the first thing they're going to do, or their health, they're going to tell you what they did, and they're going to tell you to do it too, because they feel good. And it's the normal reaction. So we're not picking at them either. But what happens with the diet fad, those who avidly follow them and do a decent job, they start to eat the same things, and eating the same thing, well, it kind of tricks your body into saying, hey, here's like an intruder. Like, this person keeps coming to your house, like somebody knocking on your door every other day. And you're like, why is this person here? You start to get into defense mode. So a lot of diet fads come, they go, and they make patients a lot worse. So if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're like, I want to try this, I want to try that, okay, try it, experiment. I'm not here to stop you, but maybe work with somebody who is experienced starting those diets. That way it saves you a lot of time. And these are just some tips to help everybody out there avoid becoming sensitive to a lot of foods. Another thing that I see is caloric restriction. Everybody is really into different kinds of eating. We'll experiment with that, but when you calorically restrict your diet to certain extremes, no one said, you can cut your calories by 5 or 10% to start doing a step down weight loss and losing it the right way. But a lot of people, they crash course diet, and that causes a whole bunch of hormones to just go crazy in your body, or they're doing some sort of intermittent fasting and they're just not used to going that long. And that caloric restriction sometimes can backfire. So be careful of that. It's all about enjoyment, enjoying life. And I keep saying that. And you have to eat food that tastes good. So those who are successful are the people who are willing to take new steps, trying new foods, willing to try a new health food store like Marlene, going to experiment with a new grain like teff flour. I remember when I went to Marlene's and I got teff flour. I don't do amazing on gluten, so I like alternatives. Teff is the tiniest grain, and it's really good for sensitive people. Some gluten sensitive people can tolerate it well. So I went there and I experienced something new, and I learned how to make it to my liking, because the first time it was, I made it taste like cardboard. And we have these experiences, but we laugh, we have fun. But it's about putting the work in, and eating what you want versus what you should be eating are two very different things. You have to ask yourself, how important is your healing? And when it comes down to it, we all have the ability to have the willpower, and we all have the ability to heal. It just comes down to identifying what are the stressors, what are the foods. And a good example, I was working with a patient, and these are hard issues that people face. Working with a patient, this has happened numerous times, and I'm not picking on them, but or this community, because there's plenty of people who eat a healthy vegan diet, but the patient came to me vegan, years of health issues, and they seemed to be, showed me their, information, seemed to be eating healthy, exercising. And when we test them, they're allergic to all of these plant foods that they have been eating in high consumption, like soy and corn, and all kinds of maybe oxalates for certain people, and lectins, which are nuts, beans, and seeds. And you identify these issues with people, and sometimes you have to tell somebody who eats a certain lifestyle or believes in something that they may need to try something different in order to get better faster or overcome what they're dealing with to obtain the goal that they want. So it's not always the easiest thing, because taking away a food from somebody or telling somebody you can't eat that is something that I see in practice. It's like, I have a young son, and when you take something from him, hey, it's time to go to bed. We gotta put the toys away. They look with that same look. They're like, you're taking this from me, and it's not me taking it from them. It's what their bodies are physiologically responding to, reactive to. I'm here to help people as a facilitator. I'm not an authoritarian figure. I'm not the compliance police. I'm here to work with my patients and help them try new things, try new lifestyle habits, because these experiences we have with food are very, very intense. And a lot of people go back and forth, even if they come in and they do great for 3 weeks. A lot of people yo-yo in their life, and it's about creating an environment for everlasting change. And that's really what sets the pace for moving forward. Somebody who has been a patient my whole life, my father does the same work, and I have other members of my family who, do this kind of nutrition work. Watching things change is so amazing. Just because you're allergic to something today doesn't mean you can't heal it. Some people will remain lactose intolerant forever, and if they eat something with milk in it, it's horrible. Somebody with a really serious celiac, I know somebody who, like, if something touches their food, it's game over. But a lot of people have the ability to come back. And that's the message that I want to give right now, right today. Doesn't matter about allergies. There are people out there who are meant for you, and you can make the biggest comeback. You don't even have to make a comeback. You could just be the best person that you could ever imagine. It's never too late to start living your wildest dreams. So let's live it together right now. So I think that's going to wrap it up. Know that you can do it. You can heal. You can overcome. There's no reason why not. So if there are any questions, I would love to discuss and answer them right now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bland. Yes, please. Anyone with any questions, feel free to chime in, unmute yourselves. You can turn on your camera as well, and or the chat box.
Oh, I have a chat box. Is there anything in there? Oh, I see it.
Folks, don't be shy.
Do not be shy. If you have the MR, okay, so here we got one question. Let me read it aloud. Okay, so if you have the MRT test, do you need to have it again? Do things change? Well, if you have it once and you have a great experience, I don't see the need to really have it again until you maybe see symptomatology for really acute, serious patients dealing with like serious health complications. They want to fix it now. I would usually test that person with labs every 3 months. Some people request to do it more. I think 3 months is a good marker for something like that. I also would, use applied kinesiology muscle testing with them every office visit to make sure that the MRT test results are still congruent with what I am muscle testing. So that's the beauty of actually the muscle test. I think that was a really great question. So you see how you can, use both tools in conjunction to make sure everything is working. So that's the benefit of working with somebody with my background. Cool. I got another question. I love questions. Shoot them out. Do you advise against a vegan diet? I don't advise. This is a great question. I don't advise against any specific diet. Everybody is different. I have some patients who are bodybuilders and they're like 240 pounds, diced to shreds. very minimal body fat, great health. I was vegan for a really long time, and it just didn't work for me. So I don't think that a vegan diet is a bad diet. I think that anyone doing any diet at all, you should have some laboratory analysis. You should see an applied kinesiology doc if you're not into labs, and maybe get muscle tested to see if there's any nutrients missing, or maybe nutrients that are present too much. Many vegans happen to supplement with D and B12, and sometimes they overdo it. And I've seen that with patients, and you get a nutrient profile and you're like, wow, you're like taking like triple the amount of vitamin D than anyone could ever take. So there is no good or bad, except if they're extremes. There's no good or bad food. Garlic and onion, are foods that damage a lot of people's guts, but some people, rave about how garlic is, help their laboratories, help their labs on, their cardiovascular health. Which test is better, MRT or the other, IgG? Wow. Well, the MRT I think is the best. The IgG is pretty good. It's a matter of cost. The MRT is a little bit more expensive, a little bit more extensive. I just like to be really thorough. And with most of my patients, unless they come here and they say hey doc, I gotta get on the lab train, I usually see what we can do without sending out for expensive labs, because it could run you a couple of shekels. So I don't think one is that much better, but I would choose the MRT over the IgG. There are more options for IgG, but MRT is the gold standard, specifically in hospitals and stuff. I know a lot of docs in hospitals, nutritionists and whatnot, that have great results. And me personally, I've had an MRT test. It was the exact same result as my applied kinesiologist. So I was still happy I got it though. It's just good to see it on paper. Good to see stuff on paper with labs. I always say, don't guess, get a test. I usually give my practice members discounts, heavy discounts on tests, so they have accessibility. I find that people, when they want like a lab test, you have to, if you have a problem, say you have depression, then it could be, part of your, food sensitivities. So your psychiatrist or psychologist sends you the GP, then the GP gives you a regular blood test, but you want to know more about your hormones, and they send you to an endocrinologist. And before you know it, like 2 months have passed and you have no idea really still what's going on. I find that people are able to just come into the office and we're able to, boom, bypass 3 months of, or a month to 3 months of BS and just figure it out. And that's what's really cool about what I do, is we're able to figure things out just right away, no questions asked, and get people out of the door the first time I see them, with a plan, a real plan, something that they can say, hey, this is what these first couple of weeks are going to look like, and then these next couple of weeks, and I'm going to dial it in and I'm going to get better. And it's awesome. Next question. Great. I love questions. These are awesome. It is unusual to be sensitive to things you've never eaten. Example, kiwis, watermelon, mushrooms from MRT tests. Absolutely, you can be sensitive to things you've never eaten, just how you could be allergic to pollen if you've never lived somewhere that has pollen, or a low pollen count. So it looks like your triggers of foods that you wrote are kiwis, watermelons, and mushrooms. I would assume some of your sensitivities, rely on maybe some sugar reactions, some fructose reactions, because of the kiwi and watermelon. The mushroom, it could be, you could have a sensitivity to fungals. That's kind of what that's telling me. Sugar, fungus, that's what helps, fungus and mycotoxins grow. But then again, it could be simply genetic. It could be a mistake on the test. That's real. Everybody gets these blood tests and they think it's God's word, and it could be a mistake. That's why, if you were my patient, I'd say, cool, avoid those things. See if you felt better. You were already avoiding them, cool. And then I'd play an experiment. We'd bring in some kiwis or watermelon, and we'd muscle test you with them in your mouth or over your head. And we'd see it physically show up like that. So a lot of my patients, I have them bring specific foods that they're eating, even if it is safe for them to eat on their MRT and safe for them to eat via testing. If somebody's eating a ton of blueberries, maybe the source of blueberries, and they're not getting better. Okay, so the person's not getting better. Maybe the source of blueberries that they're eating has, Roundup on it or some toxin, and they just need to switch to a different brand. So we're able to identify kind of these things physically in the office and as well in laboratory. But it's interesting, sometimes labs are off. I've gotten a couple of blood tests back personally, and there were some lab errors. I had you have a moment of panic, and you realize, like, there's no way this number can be physiologically 50 times more than it is, or there's no way I could be allergic to that. I'm fine eating it. So there's error with that. I hope that answered that question. That's a fun one. Speaking of Roundup, it is sprayed on our foods. Do you recommend spending extra on organic? These are all really awesome questions. I could talk for hours about each one. I hope I'm answering them satisfactory. Roundup is one of those things that people will go to battle with you about. I've made some posts on it, and some people love it, and some people think that anyone thinks that the detriment of Roundup, that you're some sort of conspiracy theorist person, and I'm just here helping people. I'm not conspiring. I don't have time for that. I think it's best to eat mostly organic. Some tricks: frozen fruit is a little cheaper. It's also fresher. Eat organic. It's best to avoid chemicals. If you want to know more, look up the epicyte gene. I think it's EPICYTE, and that is in-depth detail of how this Roundup, really affects the genetic sequencing and our food and stuff. And I'll tell you an anecdote, and you decide for yourself. So let's talk about one food, because there's a lot of them. So almonds. Everyone likes almonds. Almond milk, almonds, nuts. All right, yeah. Almond cheese, the vegan people out there. It's good. It tastes really good. But almonds, they grow on a tree. They fall. Now the tree is sprayed with the Roundup. Now, when the almonds fall in their shell, the almonds fall on the ground, and they're just soaking the water and the Roundup on. So you tell me, do you want to eat that, or do you want to eat organic? That's an extreme story, but we don't all have time to learn how these foods are produced. It's absurd. It's crazy how much things go on in the background. So I would avoid it. I would avoid as much as you could. Also, organic meat. If you're eating meat, chicken, whatever, eggs, has to just pasture raised, grass fed, grass finished. Pay the extra couple bucks. I source all my stuff from Stay Classy Meats. Use Dr. Bland to get 10% off, or you can go to Marlene's. They got a really, really great selection of stuff. I really like that they have air chilled chicken. That's the best kind. Thank you, Marlene. Sorry, I had to say that. Okay, do the Roundup question. Okay, all right, Miss Karen is leaving. Thank you for asking all those amazing questions. Does anyone else have anything they want to ask. This is fun. That's good questions. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. This has been amazing. I love to answer all your questions. If you would like to reach me and discuss more about health and wellness, I'd love to answer any questions that you do have. I can be reached on Instagram at Dr. Ryan Bland, Dr. RyanBland. And my website is drryanbland.com. Look me up. The office number is 253-302-3131. You're just super excited right now and you want to call and schedule an appointment. We'd love all of our practice members and are accepting new practice members right now. So we'd love to have you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much to Marlene. I will be back, I think sometime in the fall, and I'm really excited. So if anybody wants to talk about something or has cool topics, we'll chat then. So have a great day and stay healthy.
Thank you. You too, Dr. Bland, and everyone. Bye.